MOM claimed anniversary trip cancelled, budget issues. Believed her. But a week later, discovered a Facebook album, Paris with the whole family. 87 photos. I kept quiet. Then she texted me, asking for help. I answered with, I never thought a single email could unravel my entire family. But when it landed in my inbox, it wasn't just my travel plans that got cancelled, it was my whole world. It was a Tuesday morning, the stale scent of leftover pizza filling my kitchen. I was just trying to get through the day, completely unprepared for the punch coming my way. The subject line screamed, bad news about anniversary plans. My mother, Carol, always wrote emails like she was addressing a distant relative, even to her 32-year-old daughter. Chloe, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but your father David and I have to cancel our anniversary trip to celebrate your graduation and promotion. The budget just isn't working out this year. Medical bills have piled up, and the car needs transmission work. You know how it is. We'll celebrate another time when things aren't so tight. Love you, Mom. I read it 3 times, a wave of guilt washing over me. They'd promised this trip 6 months ago, after I finally finished my master's degree while working full-time as a marketing director. They'd said they wanted to take me somewhere special, to acknowledge all the late nights and sacrifices. I'd suggested Rome, because Carol had always talked about seeing the Vatican ever since she was a girl watching old movies with her grandmother. The disappointment stung, but I understood. Medical bills were real. I'd helped them navigate insurance claims after David's knee surgery last year. Transmission repairs could cost thousands. They were in their early 60s, and retirement savings mattered more than a vacation. I sent back a supportive message, telling them not to worry, that we could do something local instead. Maybe a nice dinner in Denver. Carol replied with a heart emoji and "You're the best daughter." Life continued. Work consumed most of my energy as we launched a new product line. My boyfriend, Noah, and I started looking at apartments together. My younger brother, Liam, called to complain about his restaurant job. Everything felt normal. Then came Sunday evening, exactly 5 days after that cancellation email. I was scrolling through Facebook, half watching a crime documentary, the way you do when you're too tired to commit. My feed showed the usual mix of former classmates' babies, political arguments, and food photos. That's when Aunt Susan's post appeared. She tagged Carol in a photo album titled Mitchell Family Rome Adventure. The cover image showed my parents, Liam, my sister Olivia with her husband Daniel, and their 2 kids standing in front of the Vatican. Everyone wore matching red scarves. My thumb froze over the screen. I blinked, certain I was misreading something, but no. The location tag confirmed it, Rome, Italy. The timestamp showed the photos were taken over the past 5 days. I clicked into the album. 87 photos loaded slowly, each one a small detonation in my chest. Photo 1, the whole family at the airport, boarding passes and coffee cups in hand, grinning like lottery winners. Photo 12, Carol at a sidewalk cafe, croissant in hand, caption reading, living my dream. Photo 23, everyone at the Colosseum, posing in front of ancient ruins. Photo 36, Liam making a stupid face while holding a baguette on some charming cobblestone street. Photo 47, Olivia's kids eating macarons in front of a patisserie window. Photo 59, David and Daniel doing a mock sword fight with baguettes near the Pantheon. Photo 74, the entire family dressed up for dinner at what looked like an expensive restaurant. Wine glasses raised in a toast. Photo 87, everyone back at the airport, exhausted but happy. Carol's caption underneath, best family trip ever. So grateful for these memories with my loves. My loves, plural. Apparently not including me. I sat there for probably 20 minutes, phone growing warm in my hand, scrolling back through the photos again and again, looking for some explanation that would make this make sense. Maybe they'd won a contest. Maybe someone else had paid. Maybe these photos were old, and Aunt Susan had just posted them now. But no, the dates were clear. The clothing was new. I recognized the jacket Olivia had posted about buying last month. Liam's hair was the short style he'd just gotten 2 weeks ago. They lied to me. Directly. Deliberately. While I was sending supportive messages about understanding budget constraints, they were booking flights and hotel rooms for 7 people. I checked the comments under the album. Dozens of friends and relatives gushing about how wonderful the photos were, how happy everyone looked, what a beautiful family experience. Uncle Mark, so jealous. Rome has been on my bucket list forever. Carol's high school friend, Brenda, you've raised such a beautiful family, Carol. All together in the city of love. My cousin Sophia, this is everything. Family goals. Nobody mentioned my absence. Nobody asked, where's Chloe? It was like I didn't exist, like the family unit was complete without me. Noah came over around 9. He found me still on the couch, staring at my phone. I showed him the album without saying anything. His expression shifted from confusion to anger faster than mine had. Are you kidding me? They told you they couldn't afford. He stopped himself, taking a breath. Chloe, this is beyond messed up. I appreciated his anger on my behalf, but I felt strangely numb. The initial shock had given way to something colder, more analytical. I kept trying to understand the reasoning. Why lie? If they didn't want me there, why not just not invite me? Why the elaborate story about cancelled plans? Noah wanted me to call them immediately and demand an explanation, but I didn't. Something in me resisted the immediate confrontation. Maybe I wanted to see how long they'd keep up the charade. Maybe I was testing whether they'd come clean on their own. I went to work Monday morning and acted normal, answered emails, led a team meeting, approved marketing materials. My phone sat face down on my desk, silent. Tuesday, I had lunch with my friend Ava and didn't mention Rome. She asked about my parents, and I said they were fine. The lie tasted like metal. Wednesday, Liam posted his own photos on Instagram with the caption, Rome, you were beautiful, followed by the Italian flag emoji. He tagged our parents and Olivia. Not me, obviously, because I hadn't been there. Thursday, Olivia added to her Instagram stories a reel of video clips set to romantic Italian music, showing the family laughing at dinner, the kids running through a garden, Carol crying happy tears in front of some monument. Still, nobody contacted me. No phone calls, no texts, no guilty confessions. They were just continuing as if nothing had happened. As if they hadn't excluded me from a family trip while lying about why our plans had fallen through. I started doing research. I wanted to understand what a trip like that would cost. 7 people, 5 days in Rome, nice. Hotel, restaurants, activities, flights from Denver to Rome. I estimated conservatively $18,000 to $25,000, possibly more if they'd stayed somewhere nice in the city center. The deeper I dug into the photos, the more expensive details I noticed. They weren't staying in some budget hostel or cheap Airbnb on the outskirts. Photo 41 showed a glimpse of their hotel room, marble bathroom, plush robes, a view of Roman rooftops through floor-to-ceiling windows. I reverse image searched the style and found similar rooms at hotels that cost €300 per night, minimum. Photo 62 showed receipts sitting on a restaurant table, just visible enough that I could make out a total of €412 for one dinner. That was over $450 for a single meal. They'd gone to Michelin-starred restaurants while telling me they couldn't afford transmission repairs. I noticed Liam wearing a new leather jacket in several photos, the kind that cost $600 or $700. Olivia had a designer handbag I'd seen her admiring online months ago, the one she'd said was a dream purchase for someday. That someday had apparently arrived in Rome. The kids had new iPads visible in the airport departure photos. David wore a watch I didn't recognize, something with a leather band that looked expensive in that subtle, understated way wealthy people prefer. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment budget trip. This was planned, coordinated. Everyone had to get time off work, arrange pet care, pack, obtain any necessary travel documents. Olivia's kids had to miss school. This had been in motion for weeks, maybe months. I went back through my text history with Olivia. 3 months ago, she'd asked me what dates I had blocked off for Carol and David's anniversary thing. I told her I was keeping late October flexible, waiting for confirmation of the exact dates. She'd responded with a thumbs up emoji. She'd known then. She was already going to Rome and wanted to make sure their trip didn't overlap with any date I might have been expecting to travel with our parents. The manipulation was so casual, so practiced, that it made me wonder how many other times I'd been managed like this without realizing it. I called my friend Ethan, who worked as a travel agent. Hypothetically, I said, if someone was planning a Rome trip for 7 people, how far in advance would they need to book? At least 2 to 3 months if you want decent flights and accommodation, he said. Longer if you're trying to coordinate everyone's schedules. Why? Just curious. So, they'd been planning this since July or August, maybe even June. All summer long, while I'd been excitedly talking about the anniversary trip, they'd been secretly organizing a completely different vacation. Family group chats I wasn't part of, planning calls that happened when they knew I was at work, deposit payments carefully hidden from any conversation I might overhear. And during all that planning, at some point, someone had decided to exclude me. Maybe it had been a group decision. Maybe Carol had simply organized it without me from the start. Either way, every single person in my family had agreed to go along with the lie. Friday afternoon, I was reviewing quarterly reports when my phone buzzed. Carol's name appeared on the screen. Hi, honey. Hope you're having a good week. Quick question, could you help me with something computer-related? David and I are trying to scan some documents for our insurance claim, but the scanner isn't working right. I know you're good with tech stuff. Could you come by this weekend? Love you. I read the message 3 times. She wanted my help. After lying to me, after taking a trip that cost more than my car while claiming poverty, after posting 87 photos of a family vacation I wasn't part of, she wanted me to come fix her scanner. The audacity was almost impressive. I screenshot the message and sent it to Noah. His reply was immediate, "You've got to be joking." My fingers hovered over the keyboard. A dozen responses formed and dissolved in my mind. I could confront her right now. I could ask about Rome. I could tell her I knew everything. Instead, I opened my laptop and created a new folder. I systematically went through Facebook, Instagram, and any other social media where family members had posted about the trip. I took screenshots of everything, the photos, the captions, the dates, the location tags, the comments. I organized them chronologically and saved them to my cloud storage. Then I opened the original email from Carol about the cancelled trip and saved that too. I went back through my messages and found every text where I'd been supportive about their budget issues, every instance where I'd expressed understanding about the cancellation. I created a document and began typing, not angrily, not emotionally, just factually. A timeline of events with accompanying evidence. April 15th, parents promise anniversary trip to celebrate my graduation and promotion. October 3rd, mother emails to cancel trip citing budget issues and medical bills. October 3rd, I respond with support and understanding. October 5th to 10th, entire family travels to Rome, Italy. 7 people, 5 days. Estimated cost $18,000 to $25,000. October 10th, family posts 87 plus photos across multiple social media platforms documenting trip. October 11th to 17th, no family member contacts me or mentions trip. October 18th, mother requests my help with technical issue. The document grew to 4 pages, including embedded screenshots. It was thorough, unemotional, and devastating in its simplicity. I saved it as family_records_2024.pdf. I made myself dinner, pasta with Jared sauce, nothing fancy, and sat at my table eating mechanically while scrolling through more photos. There was one I kept coming back to. Photo number 53. The whole family at dinner. Golden hour light streaming through restaurant windows. Everyone's faces glowing with wine and happiness. Carol's head was tilted back in genuine laughter at something David had said. Olivia had her arm around Liam. The kids were making silly faces at the camera. They looked complete, like a finished puzzle with no missing pieces. Growing up, I'd been the easy child. Olivia was dramatic, always in some crisis that needed managing. Liam was impulsive, constantly needing to be bailed out of bad decisions. I got good grades, made responsible choices, paid my own way through college by working 2 jobs. I told myself that my independence was a strength, that not needing constant attention was something to be proud of. Maybe they'd taken that independence as permission to forget about me entirely. I thought about every family gathering where I'd arrived exactly on time while everyone else wandered in whenever they felt like it. Every holiday where I'd brought the dish I was assigned while Liam showed up empty-handed and Olivia brought store-bought items still in grocery bags. Every birthday where I carefully selected thoughtful gifts while receiving gift cards and Amazon wishlist items in return. I told myself it didn't matter because I was secure enough not to need constant validation. But watching them celebrate in Rome, I realized I'd been auditioning my whole life for a role I was never going to get. The role of someone whose presence mattered, someone they'd miss if she wasn't there. Noah came home late from a work event and found me still at the table, laptop open, pasta half-eaten and cold. He looked at my face and immediately came over, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "You okay?" he asked, knowing I wasn't. "I keep wondering when they decided," I said quietly. "Was it one conversation? Did someone say, 'What about Chloe?' and someone else said, 'Nah, let's not include her'? Or did they plan it from the beginning without ever considering me? Does it matter which?" Noah said. "Maybe not. Both options are pretty terrible." He kissed the top of my head. "You know what kills me? They're going to be shocked that you're upset. They genuinely won't understand why this is a big deal." He was right. I could already imagine the conversations. "You're so busy with work. We didn't think you'd want to come. We thought you'd understand. Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" Saturday morning, I woke up to another text from Carol, "Just checking if you got my message about helping with the scanner. No rush, but would love to get this sorted soon. Maybe you could come for lunch." I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table. Noah was still asleep in the bedroom. Sunlight came through the windows, catching dust motes in the air. Everything felt very still. My phone rang. Olivia's name flashed on the screen. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Hey." Her voice was bright, cheerful. "Long time no talk. How are you?" "Fine," I said. "Working a lot." "I know that feeling," she laughed. "Listen, I wanted to ask a favor. Daniel and I are trying to get financing for a bigger house, and we need someone to co-sign on the loan. Our credit is good, but you know how banks are. They want extra security. Would you be willing to help us out? You've got that great job and solid credit." I couldn't speak for a moment. The sheer brazenness of it left me breathless. "Olivia, co-signing a loan is a huge financial commitment." "Oh, I know. But we're good for it, obviously. We just need someone to put their name down. It wouldn't actually affect you. Just a formality, really. Just a formality. Like excluding me from family trips was just an oversight. Like lying about budget problems while spending thousands in Rome was just a miscommunication. I'll need to think about it," I said. "Sure, of course. No pressure. Well, I mean, we need to know kind of soon because the interest rates are changing, but take a day or two." She paused. "Hey, are you okay? You sound weird." I'm fine. Okay, well, text me when you decide. Love you. She hung up before I could respond. I sat holding the phone, watching the call duration fade from the screen. 47 seconds. That's how long it took for my sister to ask me to put my financial security on the line for her without a single acknowledgement of the fact that she'd just returned from a vacation I'd been deliberately excluded from. Liam texted that afternoon, "Yo, sis, any chance you could lend me like $500? I'm short on rent this month, and the landlord is being a jerk about it. I'll pay you back next month for sure." 3 requests in 24 hours. They needed my technical skills, my credit, my money, but not my company in Rome. I opened my laptop and added these new interactions to the document. Updated the timeline, included screenshots of Olivia's loan request and Liam's text about rent. Sunday evening, I finally replied to Carol. I'd spent the entire weekend drafting and redrafting my response. Noah had offered dozens of suggestions, ranging from tell them all to go to hell to carefully worded confrontations, but I wanted something specific, something that would communicate exactly what I understood without giving them room to gaslight me or minimize what they'd done. I attached the PDF document I'd created and wrote, "Hi, Carol. I saw Aunt Susan's Facebook album of the Rome trip, all 87 photos. I also saw Olivia's Instagram posts, Liam's stories, and the various comments from relatives complimenting our beautiful family. I noticed the trip happened during the exact dates we were supposed to be celebrating together, about 5 days after you emailed me explaining that budget constraints made travel impossible. I've documented everything in the attached file, including your request for help with your scanner, Olivia's request that I co-sign her mortgage, and Liam's request for rent money. I'm not angry. I'm not hurt. Those emotions require a baseline expectation of being valued. And clearly, that expectation was misplaced on my part. What I am is done. Done pretending we're a close family. Done being available whenever any of you need something while being conveniently forgettable when it comes to actually being included. Done accepting crumbs of attention while watching everyone else share full meals. To answer your question, no, I will not come fix your scanner. Olivia, no, I will not co-sign your loan. Liam, no, I will not give you rent money. What I will do is step back from this family dynamic entirely and build a life with people who actually want me in it. Don't bother explaining. I'm not interested in excuses about limited seats or surprise planning or whatever story you've constructed. The cancellation email exists. The photos exist. The timeline is clear. I hope Rome was worth it. Chloe. I read it 12 times before hitting send. My hand shook slightly as my finger hovered over the button. Once I did this, there was no taking it back. This would detonate whatever remained of our family relationships. But maybe that was already gone. Maybe it had never really existed the way I thought it did. I pressed send. The message showed as delivered immediately. Then about 30 seconds later, the read receipt appeared. Carol had opened it. My phone began ringing within 2 minutes. Carol's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call. It rang again immediately. Declined. A text appeared, "Chloe, please answer." Let me explain. Then David called. Declined. Olivia called. Declined. Liam sent a long text that started with "Jesus Christ, Chloe, way to overreact." I turned off my phone. Noah ordered Thai food, and we ate it while watching mindless TV. He didn't ask if I was okay because he could see I wasn't. And I appreciated him not making me articulate the mess of emotions churning inside me: relief, grief, vindication, loss, freedom, sadness, all of it tangled together. I turned my phone back on Monday morning before work. 47 missed calls, 63 text messages, 12 voicemails. I deleted them all without reading or listening. Then I blocked my parents' numbers, Olivia's number, and Liam's number. I kept them unblocked on social media because I wanted to see if they'd post anything publicly, but I unfollowed all of them so their content wouldn't appear in my feeds. At work, I told my assistant to screen any calls from my family members. If they showed up at my apartment, I wouldn't answer the door. Ava met me for coffee on Tuesday afternoon. I finally told her everything, showing her the saved photos, the emails, the timeline. She was appropriately outraged. "They're probably panicking because they realize you're actually serious," she said. "They thought you'd just be available forever, no matter how they treated you." "Probably. Are you going to talk to them eventually?" I considered this. Maybe if they actually acknowledge what they did without making excuses, but I'm not holding my breath. Ava reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You've got people who love you. Real people, not just blood relatives who use you." She was right. I had Noah, who'd been furious on my behalf from the moment he saw those photos. I had Ava and my other friends who'd supported me through graduate school and career changes. I had colleagues who respected my work and invited me to their homes for holidays. I had a life that existed completely independent of my family. Maybe I'd always known on some level that I was peripheral to them. The responsible one who had her life together, who didn't need as much attention, who could be counted on in emergencies, but wasn't essential for the fun moments. I'd been okay with that role because I told myself it meant I was stable, reliable, mature. But Rome had revealed something uglier. It wasn't just that they prioritized others over me. It was that they'd actively lied to prevent me from knowing I was being excluded, all while planning to continue extracting favors and support whenever convenient. 3 weeks passed. The calls and texts from my family gradually decreased. I heard through mutual friends that there had been a big family argument about the situation. Apparently, Olivia blamed Carol for not handling it better. Liam thought I was being dramatic. David had apparently said very little, which tracked with his usual conflict avoidance. Nobody, from what I heard, had actually acknowledged that what they'd done was wrong. The arguments were about my reaction, about how to deal with me, about whether I'd calm down eventually. I received a letter in the mail, handwritten by Carol. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. It was 4 pages long, mostly explaining all the reasons why the Rome trip had happened the way it did. Space constraints, last-minute planning. They didn't think I'd want to go anyway because I was so busy with work. It would have been too expensive to add another person. The timing just worked out better for everyone else. Nowhere in the letter did she write the words, "I'm sorry." Nowhere did she acknowledge that lying to me had been wrong. It was all justification and expectation that I'd understand and forgive. I filed the letter with my other documentation and didn't respond. Noah and I found an apartment together, a sunny 2-bedroom in a neighborhood I loved. We adopted a cat from the shelter, a gray tabby who immediately claimed the spot by the window. I got promoted again at work, taking on a VP role that came with significant additional responsibility and salary. Life felt lighter without the constant background expectation that I'd be available for my family's needs. I didn't realize how much energy I'd been spending on maintaining those relationships until I stopped. 6 months after the Rome incident, I received a Facebook friend request from my nephew, Olivia's older son, Sam. He was 15 now, old enough to have his own social media. I accepted it. He messaged me a few days later, "Hey, Aunt Chloe. Mom told me about what happened. I just wanted to say I'm sorry you weren't there. I asked about you when we were planning the trip, and Mom said you were too busy with work. I didn't know she'd lied to you about canceling. That's really messed up. I miss you." I stared at that message for a long time. Sam had always been a sweet kid, thoughtful beyond his years. It meant something that he'd reached out, that he'd seen through whatever narrative the adults had constructed. I wrote back, "Thanks for reaching out, Sam. That means a lot to me. I miss you, too. The situation with the adults is complicated, but you didn't do anything wrong. If you ever want to grab lunch or see a movie, just you and me, I'd love that. We started meeting up every few weeks. Sam would take the train into the city, and we'd get food and catch up. He told me about school, about his friends, about wanting to study engineering in college. I helped him with his math homework and gave him advice about dealing with teenage social dynamics. Over the months, I watched him grow more confident, more mature. Through Sam, I learned things about my family. Olivia and Daniel were having marriage problems. Liam had gotten fired from his restaurant job again. My parents were arguing about money because apparently the Rome trip had actually blown through most of their savings. I felt nothing really hearing this information. No satisfaction at their struggles, no desire to help, just a distant acknowledgement that these were people I used to know well, living lives that no longer intersected with mine. A year after Rome, Carol sent another letter. This one was shorter, less defensive. She wrote that she'd been in therapy and was starting to understand that she prioritized keeping everyone happy in the moment over being honest, even when honesty would have been kinder. She wrote that she couldn't take back what happened, but that she regretted it. She wrote that she missed me and hoped we could eventually talk. Still no direct apology for the lying specifically, but it was closer than anything else I'd received. I didn't respond immediately. I sat with it for weeks, showing the letter to my therapist. Yes, I'd started therapy, too, working through family dynamics and patterns I'd never fully examined. Eventually, I sent a brief email. Carol, I got your letter. I appreciate that you're working on yourself. I'm not ready to resume regular contact, but I'm willing to meet for coffee at some point, just the two of us. If you want to talk, let me know. We met at a neutral coffee shop 2 months later. Carol looked older than I remembered, more worn down. We sat across from each other at a small table by the window, both nursing lattes neither of us really wanted. She told me she was sorry, actually sorry, using those specific words. She said she'd let Olivia convince her that I wouldn't care about the trip, that I was too independent to mind being left out. She said she'd taken the coward's way out by lying instead of having a hard conversation. She said she understood if I never fully trusted her again. I listened without interrupting. Some of it felt genuine. Some of it felt like therapy speak, words she'd learned to say but maybe didn't fully feel yet. I don't know if we can fix this, I told her honestly. I'm not saying never, but I'm also not saying yes. Right now, I'm okay with my life the way it is. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I understand. We finished our coffee talking about neutral things, her garden, my job, a book we both read. It wasn't comfortable, but it wasn't hostile either. Just two people who used to be close, navigating an unfamiliar distance. I left that coffee shop feeling like I'd closed a chapter without necessarily opening a new one. Maybe someday my relationship with my mother would heal into something different, something more honest. Maybe it wouldn't. Either outcome was acceptable. What mattered was that I'd learned to value myself enough to walk away from people who didn't. Even family. Especially family, because those relationships can trap you in patterns of obligation and guilt that override your own needs. Noah proposed 2 years after the Rome incident on a random Tuesday evening. No fancy planning, just the two of us in our apartment with a cat between us on the couch. I said yes immediately. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony with 40 guests, friends, colleagues, people who'd shown up for me consistently. Sam came, sitting in the front row and beaming like he was proud of me. He was 17 now, nearly an adult himself, and seeing him there meant everything. My parents weren't invited. Neither were Olivia or Liam. Some people thought that was harsh. My aunt called to say I was being petty, that family was family, and I should let go of grudges. I thanked her for her opinion and went back to planning my wedding. Because here's what I'd learned: forgiveness doesn't mean restoration. I could release anger without reopening doors. I could wish my family well from a distance without letting them back into my daily life. I could build something new without dismantling the boundaries that protected my peace. On my wedding day, surrounded by people who genuinely wanted me there, who'd paid for their own transportation and accommodations because they valued witnessing my happiness, I felt no regret, no phantom sadness about missing family members, just gratitude for the life I'd built and the people who'd helped me build it. Noah and I honeymooned in Japan, a trip we saved for and planned together. We took hundreds of photos and posted maybe 5 of them, because the memories were ours, not content for social media validation. Sometimes I still think about those 87 photos from Rome, the matching red scarves, the happy faces, the complete absence of any acknowledgement that someone was missing. But mostly I think about the life I'm living now, full of people who wouldn't dream of excluding me and then asking for favors. People who show up, tell the truth, and treat my presence as valuable rather than optional. That's not a consolation prize. That's not second best. That's the actual prize. The real family, the life worth building. What boundaries have you had to draw in your own life to protect your peace?